Hello friends, family and other creatures of the sea, and welcome to a best of 3 between, in the bottom right, spawning as our red Terran player playing for Team Liquid, their most recent acquisition. It is Cure. And in the top left, playing for Twisted Minds, the man, the myth, the legend. It is of course Classic, the guy who opted to go for a Blink DT rush in what I believe was the quarterfinals of BlizzCon, I want to say 2018? Against Rogue, either 2018 or 2019. Phenomenal gameplay out of Classic. Always has been the player that whenever there are big series, whenever stuff is truly on the line, he comes out with these builds that no one else has seen before. He thinks of them, he executes them. Boy, does he execute them well. Today, however, not really expecting anything too revolutionary out of him. He's just scouting for any potential proxies, making sure that nothing too odd is going on from the side of Cure. Cure being a standard player in TVP. Just opening up with a barrage at home, quick cast as well coming out. And this is pretty much par for the course, I think. This is what we had expected coming out of Cure into a series versus Classic. I don't think that Cure believes that Classic is favored here. And whenever Cure believes that he is the one that is favored, he usually plays fairly safe. So I'm expecting a Reaper opener and maybe a Scout, maybe no Scout. Yeah, we're seeing a no Scout here. This has been something. Oh, he canceled the Reaper. Did you see that? Did you see that? So that's a Reaper cancel into a Marine with a quick factory then as a follow-up. That is the only thing that makes any type of sense over here. So he wanted to go for a Reaper, then realized he wouldn't get his natural CC down in time, cancelled the Reaper and opted for the Marine factory playstyle instead. This is not something that we see him often do. Fast second gas as well. Reactor. Perhaps we're looking at a Hellion Cyclone build? Because he's getting a lot of gas. Whenever we see that second refinery go down before the depot, that means that he wants a real quick freaking starport. He's going to get a very, very fast starport over here. The fact that his factory is not close to the barracks probably also indicates that we won't be seeing anything reactored out. It would surprise me at least, because the flying distance for the factory is simply a little bit too long. Yeah, it's going to be... I'm kind of feeling either Hellion into Mine Drop or some type of Hellion into Cyclone thing. Perhaps with a little Marine drop into either the natural or towards the main base. As the Twilight Council is going up in the main here for Classic. Has his Stalker, I think as the second unit, as the first unit also a Stalker. Okay, triple Stalker opener here coming out of Classic. Very different from what we usually see. And it indeed is Hellion into Cyclone. Kind of an old school build that was very popular pre-patch. We haven't seen it as much as of late. And this Stalker could actually ruin this entire plan. Because there's no bunker with this build. And until the Cyclone is out, the Stalker is going to be having an absolute blast. Mining will be denied here from the natural. So that's what, minus 20, 30, 40 minerals or so. Marines have taken some damage. So if the goal is to put Marines in a medevac and start dropping them, they're going to be damaged Marines already. Cyclone now popping out, 334. Makes a lot of sense this timing. We're gonna get a couple of shots on the Cyclone. I think these Stalkers might be capable of actually surviving. Tries to get the final hit off on that Cyclone, doesn't get it. This Hellion should be capable of taking out both of them Stalkers. This is such an unfortunate ending to some pretty decent micro coming out of Classic. Loses 2 Stalkers, and that is expensive. We are going to see a 7 Marine drop. We have the repair here on the Cyclone as well. So this is still serious pressure. And Classic will need to deal with this with 2 less Stalkers than what he usually would have wanted. He's not going to have any pylons on the edge either. Usually you unload outside of range, outside of vision range. So that's why pylons are so important. The spot on the edge. Okay, triple Stalker warping in the main base. First Stalker is going to get taken out pretty much for free. Second Stalker being targeted down here as well by these Marines will go down. I think 2 Marines have fallen and so have 2 Stalkers. That's generally a very good trade here for the Terran player. At the same time, I think in the natural, another Stalker might have gone down. Yes, 5 Stalkers have gone down in total. This Cyclone is going to fall as well, but not before it takes out a couple of extra workers. As Cure is destroying his opponent over here. This is not going to be a very close game, as we have to follow up with the interference matrix as well over here. Most likely double Raven play in that case. 2 more barracks coming in, and let's not forget that for now, Classic really has nothing going on. doesn't have a third base, doesn't have a secondary tech structure. So we're really just working with pure blink. There's no Robo-Bait, there's no Templar Archives. We do have charge on the way as well as +1 armor, which is actually kind of being rushed out over here. But I don't really see a viable path to victory at the moment for Classic. He's going to be down in income for the next, well, at least 2.5, 3 minutes. And actually probably just for the next 4 minutes, if I look at it like this. I think third bases will be thrown down at a very similar time. We'll have the double mules working the entire way through. So yeah, we see a significant gap here of about 450 is what you'd expect. Most of the time when it comes to the minerals. Now there's a third mule, so more like maybe 600 or so. Of course, a single mule mines about 200 minerals a minute. So you always want to kind of keep that in mind. It's like, okay, if 2 mules are working there as well, you're going to just have about a 400 mineral advantage if the other worker count is equal. Auto turret gets thrown down. We'll take out 3 workers on top of the earlier damages also. That brings Classic down to 46 workers against 48. A third base that is similarly timed with his opponent, which is something you don't really want at all as a toss. You need a much quicker third base. It is so darn important. Now, Storm could be a saving grace, but at the same time, I'm looking at this setup and I'm thinking to myself, how in the world is Classic planning on holding the incoming push? He's going to need at least 2 full Warpins of Zealot. I think he'll need some type of counter damage, and he'll need to land some phenomenal storms. Marine count is fairly high, so it might be viable. Another auto turret gets thrown down. I think it might have killed a single worker, as we see 4 kills total on this Raven. We get another scan. It's kind of a weird scan in my mind. It's like trying to figure out if there's a fourth base, which I don't quite get. But I guess Cure can believe that the third base would be mining so little, so late into the game. So he's just checking to make sure. It's like, okay, getting a correct analysis here on his own position, and that could perhaps change how he micros the incoming fight or how he moves, like more aggressively across the map, or can he, stretch out this fight a little bit? Can he make it last just a tiny tad longer? As the third medevac is going to show up as well over here. Honestly, I believe that Cure is just going to siege up with these tanks, borrow 2 of these mines, and unless he's going to get splashed in the face here by these storms on top of the Marines, they'll be just fine. There's still 2 storms available for now. First one doesn't actually activate, neither does the second, as both Templar will get taken out. Immortal's about to pop out. I'm not even sure if it's going to with the pace that Robo was being taken out, but even if it does, I don't really think it's going to end up mattering here. Mines dealing damage as well. Tank still shooting from the back. And I think with the sustain that this army has, Classic can only really tap out. And that's what happens. Cure takes game number 1. In map 2, Cure does decide to switch it up a little bit. So he opens up with a gas first opener. Would you look at that? And looking at this scout timing, well, this is not going to be a scout, we all know that already. The frequent viewer of the HarstemCasts channel will be very familiar with the eBay block. And this is indeed just going to be an eBay block over here on that natural. Classic, he's failing. He's failing as a Protoss mind here. So I think the common knowledge nowadays is that you really need to have a probe downstairs between, I want to say 105 and 125 or so. Just 20 seconds. It's going to cost you some minerals, but I think in the long run, it is extremely worth it to know that that eBay block is coming for you. Because now, what are you going to be capable of doing here? Nothing. You're being delayed in your Nexus timing. You're forced to get a pylon before it. He's going to get a Nexus on the third base location, which is not an uncommon response. Pylon at the ramp, probably for a Stargate next to it. Now, what does that mean for the build order here? Most likely that we'll see a Stargate opener. I'd be kind of shocked, honestly, if we don't have a Stargate opener. We'll get a third pylon at this Nexus, perhaps for a battery. It's going to be difficult to afford all of that, of course. But we'll see how Classic is going to try and manage. CC goes down a little later, but that is standard if you're playing that gas first eBay block style. And you don't have I don't think we have an SCV on the map anymore, right? Yeah. So if there's an SEV on the map, this could potentially still have been like a proxy starport of sorts. This is a really common build order as a follow-up on an eBay block, and especially if these bases end up being split. With like a starport over here, drop 4 Hellions in the main. And if the Protoss is in position in the main, you just drop them down in the natural. And that's the problem with these type of triangle defenses, as we call them. So usually there's 2 types of layouts on most maps. You have either line expansions. On this particular map, that's not possible, but this is a triangle setup. And then if they can drop in between the main and the third, that is very, very frustrating because the defensive runaround is so much longer than this little area. So that's why it can be quite common if Protoss expands to a triangle type of third base as their first base, that these drops can be difficult to deal with. Of course, you can also attack from the high ground, something we shouldn't forget either. For now, though, you're actually playing in a much more passive way than I had honestly expected. Love this little probe over here, just idling. I think this pylon is quite smart as well. It's going to be a defensive oracle for Classic. He's not trying to scout with it. He's not trying to gather any information. These cars are going to get cut. They're going to go down in a very, very big way. And I think this was a beautiful setup here. A beautiful little trap. And pretty much telling Curious like, hey, this opener against me is not viable. I know what you can do. And I'm extremely prepared for it. This was actually just a beautiful trap. It's a very high level trap. Well prepared, well set up. I think this is the difference between some of these very top Protoss players and some of the lower level guys, is that someone like Classic is just mentally prepared for every single scenario that could come at him. You know, even if this hadn't happened, he still would have been prepared for it. He had no real scouting information. He went for kind of a catch-all response, had good pylon positioning, understood what to do with his adepts. We saw like his adepts were even positioned forward and were shading back into the mineral line in case of some type of maybe attack from over here with a drop, or if they come from this general area, you shoot once and then you shade defensively. So just really nice movement. It's overall fantastic hold so far coming out of Classic, and he's taking a bit of a lead as a result here. 10 probes up, taking a fast third base as well, while Cure, producing triple cyclones, seems to be aiming to go for some type of 3-Rex attack, but with the Cyclone as a supplement. Usually we see these types of builds with a heavy focus on tanks. So we'll see like a stim combat timing with a lot of Marines, 2-3 tanks, something along them lines. This was played actually of a single gas. Look at that. A single gas for such a long time. Now he's double gassing towards the natural, which is of course necessary. But this is a pretty high eco build. I'm surprised by that. Stim hasn't finished up quite yet, which is also somewhat surprising to me. This Immortal is now moving forward. Shields are going to get activated. And the patience that Classic is practicing here is very powerful. Hasn't used the super battery. Maybe that even was a little bit too patient. He's going to end up losing a lot of units. Stasis on the left side. Cure professionally dodges that. Combat shield not quite done yet though, so ill-timed. Not well synchronized, these two upgrades, but still significant damage here being dealt. Despite the poor start for Cure, he's going to be capable of taking out quite some defenses. Doesn't really get to touch the eco, and as the third base is up and the first Colossus is now on the way out, I'm not even sure how much I mind this position here for Classic. His opponent has a pure Marine army. There are 0 Marauders out on the map. So the moment the first Colossus shows up, this push is over, completely over. And there it is. The 4-legged monster shows up and starts roasting Marines. 68 supply to 77. Worker count in favor of Classic. The one thing he is seriously lacking though right now is that air force that you do need. Colossus are absolutely great at defending, but they're terrible at being pre-split. They have a difficult time dealing with this type of threat. And you need air control. You need to have vision everywhere. As a lot of these probes are now going down versus a Marine suicide mission here, really. Forgot their helicopter at home. They're not going to get evacuated out of here. We'll try to fight against the Colossus, but Phil, that was a nice move here for Cure. I think he would have had a difficult time playing this game without getting that damage. He's still going to not have a super easy time, but I think it is playable now for Cure, for sure. I really do believe this to be playable. Classic, still in it as well, of course. Supplies are even. which is not uncommon when you're playing Colossus Phoenix. But it's still nice to have as a Protoss. This third base is extremely quick though for Cure, something we definitely do need to keep in mind. As the double forges do finish up, we have a Twilight Council that is done. We're gonna get a serious investment here into what I believe to be some type of mid-game timing. I think. I'm not entirely sure. So I've seen similar ideas coming out of Hero lately, where there's a heavy focus on these upgrades, often going up to things like 6 gas, adding a Templar Archive, and trying to play some type of Zealot Archon push with either 1-1 or 2-2 upgrades. It is possible that Classic is kind of copying that thought. We do have a double Mind Drop heading in. I do believe I saw an Armory. Yeah, Armory has finished up. That means that if these mines land and burrow, they won't though. They won't. Okay, that's nice. That's really nice here for Classic, and that does give me hope there might be a game number 3. Because honestly, if those mines hit and they get 5, 6, 7 kills per mine, I think this game starts looking pretty dire for Classic. 2-1 upgrades coming out of Cure, who is so far not actually getting any Ghost. Now throwing down that Ghost Academy, pre-4th base. He's really investing a lot of resources into what I think is going to be a 2-1 timing attack, or a 2-2 timing attack maybe. It's kind of banking heavily on that actually doing something. So there's that Templar Archive that I was discussing earlier. We have a 4th base coming down for Classic. And here, 144 supply to 117. Of course, with that income lead due to the mules. It's having an absolute blast over here. Instantly starts the 2-2 as well, Classic that is. Tries to kind of catch up in those upgrades, making sure that he can match his opponent at least. Cure's just being very patient. He's really not doing much of anything. Sloppy play though here. This shouldn't ever happen, right, as a Terran. If you're just defending, there should be a pre-split. If you know your opponent has some type of Phoenixes. Like why would your mineral line be completely unattended? There was no turret. And you have freaking Vikings, you have Marines, just leave 5 Marines in there. Sloppy play. It's not going to be the end of the world. There was a mule and 2 SCVs, but still, it is sloppy play. And if you're truly on top, that doesn't happen. You know, if you're really on point, yeah, this type of stuff, it really shouldn't happen. So although this is the type of stuff where if you're playing yourself and your opponent takes damage like that in these situations, like, okay, he's not on point. It can be a bit of a mental boost. It's the same if you're doing like probe harass in the early game against the Zerg. Even if it's only like 10 or 15 minerals that you end up denying, if they're not on point there, it does feel kind of good. It's like, oh, that's nice. Prism there ends up dying, flying into this army that Classic I don't think had quite spotted. 5 Zealot run-bys being sent in. There are some mines. Well, there's a single mine here in position. A couple more being sent forward. Here comes the Ghost EMP. It's going to connect with just a single Colossus. Super Battery gets shot instantly. Mine's not really dealing any serious damage. 9 SCVs have gone down already. Not having a bunker here is also perhaps just a little bit greedy here. Cure really believed that he could kill his opponent with a 2-2 timing. He put a lot of eggs into that basket. Delayed the 4th base. And now I feel like it's biting him in the bum just a tiny tad. Just a tiny tad here, being bitten in the bum. And let me tell you, that's no fun there. That is no fun whatsoever. Ship weapons, level 1, halfway done. Like, this is by no means over, but PvT usually kind of has a... You have like your power spikes, and then you need to sit back for a little bit. And I think Cure just had a really big power spike. He still really could fight this army as well, I think. I mean, he has a good Viking count. He has enough Ghosts for EMPing all them Archons. But right now, Cure is split up with his army. He's gonna try and go for a counter-attack. I think this is recall worthy, honestly. I think you have to. I really do believe you have to recall here. It's a little bit late, but it's still going to be in time. Probes are being pulled offline. That is a mistake? Or it's fine? Very confused by that move. Let me tell you that much. I'm very confused by that move. 17 workers have gone down. I mean, this shouldn't have dealt that much damage. I don't think so. And it's not like probes are great tanks. They don't have like 500 HP. It's like, no, they have none. They have freaking 40. So that was somewhat surprising. It feels like it puts Classic into more of an all-in position than he really wanted to be. And he could be doing this exact same push just with 15 more workers and 3 less zealots. I think that would have been preferred over here. Cure sends the base straight in. Depot under attack. EMPs are raining down on this army. Both players taking out each other's bases right now. Although both orbitals have survived so far. So although he's kind of sweeping them bases, he's not actually killing them. Classic moving in towards the main. This is going to be a very close one. I almost would... Oh, there's a lot of ghosts here in the main though. I think that's all the ghosts actually that are here. This is 7 ghosts, that's it. These are all the ghosts that are here. Cure decides to fight in a bit of an awkward spot. There's not enough Vikings to truly deal with those Colossus very well. This fight is going to go the way of Classic, which is understandable because he has his entire army here. Well, Cure still has about 35 supply on the other side of the map. So despite this being a close fight, I feel like if Cure's entire army would have been here, or if he would have waited for 3-3 to finish, that would have been quite nice. It's also weird that Cure decided not to go into the main base to try and deny his opponent's production, while Classic's priority here was to run into the main and to try and deny some of that production, which has worked in a wonderful way, really. Now both players back to 3-3. We do have some mining going on for Cure, but honestly, without production, your mining is practically useless. There's not a whole lot of mining for Classic, but at least he has production. So all the money that he's getting right now, he'll be capable of spending. 2 more barracks are on the way. Starport as well being constructed here. I really wonder if Cure believed he was going to win that fight in the main base. I'm surprised that he took it in the way he did. I think there were some alternatives there that he probably could have gone for. These 3 barracks now flying back home. And technically, this is a good situation for Cure if he manages to survive for 2.5 minutes. So the best way for him to win right now would be to... Well, I actually have no answer to. I don't actually think his army is too damaged, honestly. So he can't even realistically try and base trade. And that is an issue. That really is an issue. So this mine's gonna get taken out. There's more mines here that are a little bit further forward. Could dodge this just by blinking away. Let's catch some of that splash damage on top of the other blink stalkers. It's always funny when people blink out with the correct stalker, then blink in with the other stalkers. Yeah, this production is gonna get taken out. This game is absolutely over right now. And despite that income advantage that Cure has, he just doesn't have the army. So this planetary is going to be under siege constantly. There is no space here whatsoever to create any extra barracks to... He's just going to have a single starport. That will be his production. So even if he's outmining his opponent by factor 5, it simply doesn't matter. Unless he starts building production here on the top right side, which probably should be the case. I don't really see a way over here. Here we go. Right click on top of that nexus, or on top of that planetary. Colossus not even focusing down SCVs, just legitimately right-clicking that planetary the entire time. Of course, do outrange it. As this is looking real bad for you. Cure can't fight. His entire army is damaged. He's going to need some freaking medevacs. He's going to need a reactor as well. We have a 3... Oh, okay. He's gonna try and build some production in the main base. That's actually kind of a cute move, as now we have a big attack coming in forward. There's no scan and there's no turret, and that means that the DT is going to be the king. GG gets called. Cure loses the second game as Classic ties up the series 1-1. Game number 3 has the exact same opener coming out of Cure. And this is actually somewhat understandable for me. So although I liked Classic's little trap setup, I still feel like that expanding towards the third always comes with some risks. And I wonder if Cure has decided that, you know, he poked a hole in his opponent's defense. This is, I think, one of the problems with really kind of relying heavily on one of these catch-all build orders that Classic did in the last game, is that you're going to have a weakest build order matchup, so to say, right? if you have a response that is good against everything, there's still one thing that it is weakest against. And maybe there's one thing that it actually isn't that good against at all. Starts a Zealot's gonna cancel that, I can only imagine, right? Okay, sees that eBay. Yeah, cancels the Zealot. And indeed opts for the Nexus once again in the triangle location. Exact same setup. I'm legitimately just expecting a carbon copy start here coming out of Classic with that simulator going down in the main base as well. Oracle opener. Stargate in the wall, that type of shenanigans. We'll see what Cure has planned. I'd be shocked if Cure opens up in the exact same way. And confused as well. Because I think that opener didn't work last game. The 4 Hellions weren't good. I did like the follow-up. I think the 3 Rex with the Cyclones was actually very cool. And that did some serious damage. I think that's kind of what kept him in the game. But the first 4 cars, I mean, it did nothing. It forced out a pylon that had to be cancelled. So there was 25 minerals of damage that you dealt with a 400 mineral investment. That is not a very good investment. We could definitely say that was not a good investment. Cure believes in it. Okay. Well, I don't. I do not believe in this at all. I really do not believe in this whatsoever. I'm very curious how Cure is going to play this out. There has to be a different type of follow-up here. No, it's actually just going to be 4 cars. It's going to get... Nah, he's not going to get that busy. He's going to deal a little bit of damage. Quite a bit of damage, actually. He might end up getting it. That would be huge. So he can go back home with these cars as well. Get a little bit of repairing in. I think Classic is being a little bit naive in this shade. It's like, do you really think it's just going to be 2 cars? Like, we all know that's not the case. He's going to finish it up. Misses the first shot as well. This is already a very different game now. As Classic completely messes up his defense. Last game, he had 3 adepts at his natural base in the 3rd location. This time, he's going to have a single one. As the Oracle is on the way out. He had such a good play in the last game. He really figured out how to beat this particular strat. I think this is not it, though. He's forced to pull away the probes. This was just such a sloppy move out with these 2 adepts, and it's causing a lot of issues. Cure, similar follow-up. Actually, the same follow-up is what we see here. 1 Cyclone into what I assume to be a 2nd Cyclone, what I assume to be a 3rd Cyclone, and this time around, I'm expecting some serious damage here coming out of Cure. I just can't imagine him not dealing more damage this time around, because his early game was significantly better. He still has those 3 cars as well. There's no battery here. He's going to get a couple of kills. Maybe 2, maybe 3, maybe 4, maybe 5. He's going to get 2 kills though. That's not great. It's not awful either. As, we do get a lift on that car. Cyclone done. That's what? 2 Cyclones. 2 Cyclones, 3 barracks. We have an eBay going down. It's just going to be that same old push. I do hope that it's slightly more well synchronized this time around. I think it is. Last time Combat Shield was done like 25 seconds after Stim, which is kind of weird. Incompetent execution of the build. This time around, I don't think we're quite seeing that. That was the 3rd Cyclone, right? Yeah, 3rd Cyclone on the way out, and then after that he does play the double refinery setup in the natural. At least that's what he did last time, of course. He can't change it up. Starport, reactor, and there we go. We have these shenanigans running. Starport being constructed in the main. It's indeed double gas. This is just such an interesting build to me. I don't think I've quite seen this. And this, of course, makes a lot of sense. Just having a single gas factory 3 racks. And going for an aggressive push out. Some of these builds were quite popular, but as mentioned before, really with tanks. I really think this is something that Cure has made himself. At least he's the first high-level player that I really see do it, have it executed like this. An interesting stim port. Once again, combat is a little bit too late, actually. I mean, the main is open. It's wide open. Cybercore needs to be in the wall. Does not get put in the wall. There's no sentry here either. Very sloppy defense here coming out of Classic, who's going to be paying a significant price for that blunder. If you throw down a cybernetic score, you're delaying these Marines by what, 2-3 seconds maybe. Well, not 3 seconds, maybe a second and a half might be enough to either get a recall towards your main or get the sentry in position. This was not it. 18 workers going down at this point in the game. That is blunder territory. That is absolutely blunder territory. As the next 7-8 Marines show up, these guys are not going to get as much damage done to Classic's eco, but also majority does stay alive. 7 Marines still alive. Phoenix plus Stalker will start chasing right now. Needs to be careful as well that it doesn't end up losing all these units. Well, 2 more Marines will probably end up falling. As Classic now aggressively moving out, and that makes sense because he needs to freaking do something here. He really needs to do something, and well, losing 2 Stalkers before this push hits is not the good thing. Is not the good type of something. This is a very scary push. Like real freaking scary. Immortal does take out 1 Marauder. Guardian Shield activated. Marines going down. This is a close fight. The target fire of the Immortal was good as the Marauder has gone down. Sadly, the Colossus is also gone. And I think Classic is going to be chased out here. 40 workers only for our Protoss player, who's now adding that first forge and a second forge. I just don't think he has the funds for this currently. Like it's empty. It's over. We have no cash. No, 49 workers to 54. 3rd CC already about to be done. You're gonna be fighting triple mules soon, and you're never going to be up in workers. Like, we're really looking towards a mid game here in which I think Cure is going to be up 40, 50, maybe even 60 supply once he hit like 170 or so. I just don't quite understand how Classic is planning on dealing with that. Classic has no extra infrastructure yet. Has 2 Colossus out right now. Low Phoenix count. He has no potential to deal damage. So all he can do here is defend, defend, defend. Now Golden Aura is a great map to defend things on because, well, it's a turtler's paradise. As Coolio sang about the gangster's paradise, this one is better for the turtles. And that's all Classic can do right now. That's all he can do. Sit there, absorb. Sit there and absorb. Taking a fort base would be a mistake. Now, of course, Cure is not in a rush. That's the thing as well, right? Because right now Cure is already up 30 supply, but he's going to be up more supply, and he's going to get Ghost in this composition. Classic still needs to invest in the infrastructure for a solid mid game. Cure already has invested in that infrastructure. He's going to take out a Marauder here, as well as a couple of these Zealots. 2 tanks still moving forward. I think Cure really just wants to deny a fort base. I don't even think Classic is dreaming of a fort base yet. It's too unrealistic. Like one of these things, when you start dreaming about it, you wake up as like, ah, that's just not possible. Now, once you start flying, it's over. And Classic taking a fort base right now is similar to a human being flying. Phoenixes are going to push this back, but denied quite a bit of mining time. Might even get a Phoenix snipe here if he targets well. No, Classic's micro is very good there. Very, very solid. But it's 99 supply to 144. And we have the tanks now shelling away at the assimilator. I didn't know that was possible from here, but apparently it is. Pylon also being taken out. This pylon is quite in range of that battery, so definitely does need to back up a little bit. Back this up with another pylon, I think. I think this will be depowered. No, it won't. Okay, that's just barely on the edge then. Alright. That's interesting. First, 2-3 ghosts are out and moving across the map here. The next 2 also just chilling at home. Fort base on the way for Cure. Cure's playing this very, very patiently. Colossus are lasering away some of these Marauders, some of these tanks. As Classic is doing a good job absorbing so far. He needs something. I'd almost say, hey, get a Dark Shrine, but there's turrets already, so Dark Shrine also isn't going to cut it. It's just a single tank as a 4th Colossus enters the field. Ghost connecting with all of these Phoenixes, basically. I think this is just a Colossus party right now. Oh, there's still a 2nd tank in the back. I haven't even seen that. And batteries are practically empty right now. Colossus moving forward. This has been good control, though, coming out of Classic. Now this tank is being lifted. It's probably going to end up falling. All Phoenixes also stay alive. Is there a super battery? Not quite yet. The control, though, by Classic here with these Colossus has been good. Viking count is only at 2. These simulators are going to be retaken. The problem is just that we're 170 supply against 113. So, yeah, pretty much the 50, 60, 70 supply that I was talking about earlier is coming through right now. 3 more barracks. And this is the real issue. This push is a massive issue. But I do believe that Classic could potentially hold that. The problem is that there's a fort base for Cure. The problem is that there's going to be 2-2 upgrades, that we're going to ship weapons, that there's going to be 8 barracks. In the near foreseeable future, I do not see Classic getting map control. I don't think it's possible. And if you do not get map control before Terran gets Liberators, you will lose the game against a player of Cure's caliber. Tanks with this as well is kind of odd in the mix, I think. But I guess it's still... Okay, now it's starting a reactor. The fact that he's not building mines really shows he's not afraid of any type of counter-attacking here. EMPs are landing, tanks are being lifted, and Vikings are being taken out. But this is such a big win here for Cure. Absolutely destroying his opponent from a powerful early game into a solid mid game. Did not drop the ball. Because this looks easy, because he's consistently in control, but it ain't. So easy to make a mistake often against Colossus builds. You know, you move forward a bit too far, your Marines get slashed, and boom, just like that, tosses back into the game. Cure here, very patient, waiting for his 2-2 to finish up. Super battery not available anymore either. And with 2-2 against 1-1, we're going to have like, what, a 12-second timing window or so. And that is an issue. That is an issue, and I don't think that is an issue that Classic can overcome. Here come the Colossi. What can they do? They can stand there at a distance and tank some Viking shots. Phoenix is being sent in forward. One Viking goes down. EMP misses. The Phoenix is chasing these Vikings, and here come the Archons as well, tanking quite a bit, but the supply difference is too big. Despite the 2-2 that Classic also has, I don't think this is going to be a defense. Probes have been pulled, or they have been killed, or something happened with them as 11 have gone down. We have a drop to the main base with triple medevacs. The tank in the back still dealing damage. It is 5 Colossus, but there's nothing defending these bad boys. And there's 3 Vikings, and they're going to be good enough here. Robo will get sniped. Pylons will get taken out. And as Cure is doubling his opponent's supply, this is going to be it for this best of 3 today. Cure isn't even starting his 3-3 despite having the cash for it. That's how certain he is that he's won the game, and I can't blame the guy because this is extremely over right now. There we go. Classic is staying for a long time. Okay, he's still clicking stuff. WW gets called. Cure wins the series with a 2-1 score. And that, my dear friends, is going to be it for me today. Thanks all so much for watching. I hope you did enjoy this. If you did, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see all of you next time for a new video. Thank you so much, and bye-bye.